jumping around. They rush 4. Plenty of time for John. Now squeezes, steps up in the pocket. LA can run inside the 10. Head first. He dives off the 5-yard line.
65 horsepower trap. It might pop wide open, Rats.
It's in there! Yes, sir, Rats. It's on, baby. Yes, sir, Rats. High snap. It's no good. The Chargers Here comes the rush. He sidestep. Can he throw? He can. The ball flipped forward is loose. A wild scramble. 2 seconds on the clock. Casper grabbing the ball. It is on a fumble. Casper is recovered in the end zone. The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most seedy.
Hello and happy Wednesday and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Riche of MHRT Network. To my right is Captain Jack. You all know him as the Salty Pirate, or the real Pirates, really, if you're going to be honest, in the NFL.
Yes,
and
not those fake pirates that are down.
I've started to learn all the Raiders lingo over time. I think I'm right up there, and I got all the right slang for all the right folks. And down below, we are joined by Coach Defense of the Locked On Defense podcast. Coach, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And guys, you may be noticing that we are a Chiefs fan short. Some may celebrate that. I would much prefer that Alex is here with us. He will be with us shortly. He is stuck in Kansas City traffic. Please leave all jokes in the chat, both below and over to the side here. I look forward to posting them as long as there's no profanity. So moving on to the show today. We're going to start going into the Hall of Fame game, what we thought of it. Captain, I'm going to defer a lot of that to you. I remember seeing, a few images of a certain fully decked out pirate in the stands there. How did that all go?
Well, if you're seeing images of me in the stands, that must have been for the Saturday event, because I don't think I made any TV during the game, because normally my phone will blow up with pictures. Hey, dude, I just saw you on TV. But I made TV a couple times on Saturday for the Hot as Balls event. And, that's one of the reasons why I think I still have the, lack of sleep, dehydration, always being on the go, American Airlines effing up my luggage. But thank God that, and this is a visual, okay? This is one of the things that I wanted to make sure that American Airlines didn't lose, okay? Ooh. And this is only a mini of what my large helmet is, with the signatures of Henry Lawrence, Ira Matthews, Malcolm Barnwell, Kenny King. You might remember Kenny King from the Super Bowl 15 touchdown, and Reggie Kinlaw. So I was fortunate enough to have that as a winning ticket number on the events from Friday night. So that was a bonus. I actually scored like 3 prizes off of $20 worth of tickets. So not bad at all.
Keep comments coming. Love the feedback there, guys. So that's a pretty cool helmet. Some pretty prestigious signatures on there. Well-known names and key moments as well, which I think is really important to have as a diehard fan. And just before we get right into it, I just want to thank everyone for joining us live tonight. We love having a robust live audience from all 4 of the AFC West teams. I just wanted to welcome everyone who's joining us. Lafayette, yes, I did pronounce that with a French accent. That's ETTE, which is typically French, so just deal with it. Tito, thank you for joining us. And yes, I did notice that Captain blamed me for being a minute or two late. I'll just own that one. But stop blaming Canada. That's already been done on TV.
Okay. Well, you know what? If we're gonna, may I
smell a
May I-
reference?
I want to formally, because it was glossed over. It was glossed over and very warmly and welcomely done. It was glossed over last Thursday that there was technical difficulties. Okay. I'm going to own up to it. I am the technical difficulty. Okay. And I appreciate Richie Riche taking one for the team, but I can't do that. And the fact is that I'm the one who effed up. Okay. So for all of those that were sitting down and was enjoying the show, and all of a sudden the screen goes dark, I am the technical difficulty. So I just wanted to own up to that. I even have my hands up here right now, so I don't do it again. Okay. But I did want to own up to it. I want to say thank you to Richie Ritchie. I wanted to thank you to Coach Defense. And yes, I do owe everybody a round or a shot when I see them. But again, I can't let you take it on the tookus for that one. It was my fault. But we did have, and I should say they did come in, have a great rest of the show. And, you know, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew I am the technical difficulty, and Andy Reid's son has finally come in to help us out.
Young Reid.
Yeah, there it is.
Well, well, I mean, I could make a comment, but I don't think it's necessarily appropriate. We'll just say Alex got home completely sober. But with regards to the technical difficulty, there's a really important comment to be made there, which is
I finally processed what you said there.
Good. It was really subtly done, so I'm glad you did pick it up. But with regards to the stream there last Wednesday, Captain, you were simply just hitting the red button and made everything go Raider black, right?
Yes, there you go. I like that explanation.
All right,
because
perfect.
Red buttons suck because red buttons remind me of Kansas City.
Right. I get it. Now, let's just go ahead and resist the urge tonight. But moving back on to those that are joining us, we really do appreciate you. We got a bunch of folks that are live. Lafayette, the numbers, Anthony, again, thank you very much for joining us. We have Michael, Tito, as I mentioned earlier, Kelly, thank you for joining us. We have Bishop, David, SoCal Slime. I know we've already brought up SoCal there on screen. And we got Edward, Avatar. Avatar, you've been a fan and have joined MHRT Network from the beginning. I did want to just say thank you very much for all your long-term support. Craig Smith, James Farrell, again, really, really love all these folks joining us live to start getting into what's going to eventually be pretty close to real football and really start giving us some true insight into our respective teams for the 2022 NFL season. Alex, I'm going to put you on the spot since you forced me to start the stream late to try and allow for everyone to join. Want to know your feedback in terms of what you're thinking.
Exactly.
If you did you catch the Raiders Hall of Fame game? Did you have any feedback on that? What you thought before we get into the preseason stuff?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. No, I did not make that much of an effort to watch. I watched the opening drive, kickoff opening drive. Got the little fix of watching some football happening, and then really didn't care after that. I mean, it's the Hall of Fame game, and there were many actual players that matter playing. So I just kind of wanted to get the vibe of the start, and that was it. But I have been seeing, social media and sort of some coverage just on Twitter going over it. This may be due to my new follow from last week, the Jaguars guy, but it seemed like he was pretty pleased with sort of the pass rushing that that guy they drafted.
Trayvon.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed to be kind of a force out there. Granted, it was probably third or fourth string tackles.
No, actually, no, it was not. And I'm definitely going to go into that as some of the things that we went into. That was not that was not a fourth string tackle. That was allegedly our first string right tackle playing left tackle because we gave Colton Miller the night off. And as I said in my show the other day, Brandon Parker should be called Hoover because he sucks. He sucks. And
is
the
he
one thing
the
that
ones they drafted because he ran like a really fast 40. Like I feel like that's why he even got picked.
Well, no, he did run a fast 40, and he's a big kid. And this is his fourth or fifth year, and this is where you're supposed to see things out of him. And I thought that we were rid of him last year, but there must be he must have some sort of Jedi mind trick going with McDaniels and Carmen Bracilli. You know, I am the tackle that you want. I need to be on your offensive line. I am the guy that will make.
Hey, we're gonna cut you, Brandon. No, you're not. No, we're not.
Yeah, exactly. But having said that, he also tore his either his quad, his triceps, his lat, something. I will say again, allegedly, he tore something the other day in the weight room. So we're looking at the IR listing. He's not on the IR listing yet, but that is what I'm looking for, is when he will finally be put on the IR, so the Raiders can finally go out and find a right tackle by the name of Darrell Williams.
Your boy Bishop says he's out.
Yeah, but he's not. But he has, as of the last time I checked, he has not been put on IR. So he is out for the season with his injuries, but he's not on the IR list yet. And that is why the Raiders need to go out and sign Darrell Williams. They got like $22 million in cap space, and they need to find Darrell Williams as the right tackle and let the other guys fight amongst themselves for backup roster spots for swing this and swing that.
Okay. Can we talk about the Max Crosby Dylan Parham fight in practice?
Yeah, we can do that.
It was a pretty good scuffle. If you heard about it, Cap, it was a pretty good scuffle. So
yeah,
that tells me that the rookie got some fire, which I alluded to him being a good pickup for you guys. And of course, Max Crosby being that wily vet, not backing down. So some good back and forth banter within the Raiders practice this week. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that a scuffle being so I guess you could say positive. Most people don't like scuffles and fights in practice, but it was a positive in a sense because they knew that Parham was battling for his job. So,
well, Parham, not coach. I love you, but you need to mix your words correctly. He ain't battling for anything. He's going to be on the team. He is going to be the backup center or backup guard, and he might eventually be the starting guard or the starting center, depending upon what's going on. So he doesn't need to battle for anything other than how much food he's going to get at the buffet. Okay, he's had a very good camp, and he had a scuffle with Crosby, and it was just a matter of him asserting himself. Like, hey, I'm not here to take any crap, even though I'm a rookie. I'm going to shove it right back at you. And so him and Crosby, and it was more of Lester Cotton and Crosby got into it, and then Parham came over. O-line. See, I'm an O-lineman. I know I don't look like it, but I'm an O-lineman, and it's an O-lineman on O-lineman type of helping out. And then it kind of went into a bigger melee. I haven't seen any video of it, but it was one of those things where it was to be expected, and it's going to happen some of the times. So I like the fact that Parham stuck up for himself. Okay, I really do. And it shows some fire, grit, and determination by the young rookie.
Indeed. But I'm trying to understand what you're going to do with Leatherwood if you're talking about signing Darrell Williams as well. Because if Parham's going to be inside in center or guard, then where does that land Leatherwood?
Leatherwood right now is fighting for a spot as a backup. if you sign Darrell Williams at right tackle. If you sign Darrell Williams at right tackle. And that's
first round pick to backup. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. A third round pick and a free agent pickup will start over Leatherwood, huh?
Yeah, you know what? I like the fact
he was a Gruden pick, man.
Yeah,
well, I like the fact is that on this organization, we used to call them AL scholarships, where people were still on the team because they were on an AL scholarship. Kenny Shedd was on an AL scholarship. There's James Jett was on an AL scholarship. There's a couple other players in the past. They were on AL scholarships. They were high draft picks that Williams, the linebacker from years ago, was on an AL scholarship. And they kept keeping these players on the team. That's my ex-roommate down in Gitmo, touchdown Tommy, Purple People Eater, Boucher, Vikings fan, great guy that he is. But the thing is that there's no more AL scholarships. They're done. You are going to make this team by ability and what you can provide and what you can do. If you're not living up to your contract or your draft place, you're gone. Now, Leatherwood is in year 2, and I would like to say that my very good friend Henry Lawrence, and I can name drop because Henry's a great friend of mine. Henry Lawrence played 2 games his first 2 years and then was a stalwart at right tackle for the rest of his career. So some people, it takes a little bit for that light to come on. So if that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But if you get Darrell Williams at right tackle and you have Leatherwood to learn behind that guy again, maybe in year 3, if he's not starting at right guard, because right now Lester Cotton is playing well. I actually would like to move Leatherwood to left guard because I haven't really been impressed with John Simpson, but that's just me.
I can see that. That'll probably suit you guys better from a personnel perspective if you do sign Darrell Williams. But again, you have to do that first in order to figure out what you're going to do with the left guard position. But yeah, I definitely see that. But I mean, I'm just high on Dylan Parham. I think that he's a great pickup for you guys. And that scuffle let me know that he had some toughness with him.
So
he got that dog in him. That's right.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, though, where you picked Leatherwood effectively is indicative of wanting to try to have him at tackle. So the challenge is that where he was picked kind of put him in a position where you could have potentially gone elsewhere and even got a different guard, which is really where it's looking like Leatherwood is projected to go at the NFL level. Now, if Leatherwood turns out where he stays at guard and stops getting shimmy shaked all around your offensive line and can excel, well, a solid guard is a solid guard. And if he can be that good, then oh well. But you simply don't take a guard typically that high in the draft and pay him what you do as a rookie, especially considering, you know, what you were really trying to seek was a solution for your right tackle spot where you picked him.
Yeah, and it was kind of like all of the scouts projected him as a guard.
They did.
Everybody projected him as a guard.
It's Gruden, man, I'm telling you. Gruden just did not care about draft grades or where people needed to go. I mean, he screwed over a lot of guys just by solely reaching to take them, in my opinion. Like Farrell, I think Farrell probably could have been turned out to be a serviceable, you know, pass rush option, but he had to go take him 3rd overall over like some big name people, you know?
Yeah, I would have loved to have taken the kid from Kentucky that's playing well in Jacksonville.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I was about to look up who they passed or who they took Leatherwood over.
Yeah, but that was one of them. That was one of them. And not the quarterback that plays for the Bills, but the other guy with the same name that plays linebacker.
Real Josh Allen.
There you go. Yeah, but here's one other thing. Carper was saying, hey, if you're coming from Alabama, the lights should already be on. Robert, that's not always true because our starting right guard right now is Lester Cotton, who played at Alabama, and this is his 4th year, and he is just beating everybody's ass in training camp. It took him a little while to figure out that this is the pros. This is what I need to do. He was cut a couple years ago and wasn't even signed to the practice squad. So he was out of football that year. Next year he came back. He was signed to the practice squad again. And this year he is just kicking everybody's ass at right guard. So if you got Parham, that's going to be an upgrade. I think he's going to eventually take James's place at center. You move Leatherwood over to left guard, which, and to be honest, I would much have Leatherwood over Simpson at left guard, right next to Miller. Figure out what right tackle is, and then you figure it out. I actually Luminor, if they don't sign Darrell Williams, I figure Luminor is probably going to be your right tackle who's played decently the last couple practices, and he played decently in the game. And don't sleep on Bam Olasine along with Thayer Mumford. These guys are rookies. You can't teach 6'8" and 300 and something pounds, and the guy who kept Kayvon Thibodeau out of the backfield when they were playing in that bowl game. Bam Olasine owned Kayvon Thibodeau. He owned him, okay, out of Utah. He's a little older as a rookie. I think he's like 27 years old, which is old for a rookie. So if we're going to put him on the projected what we need to see, he better come in quick. But he played well. Granted, he was playing against 3s and 4s, but he played well in the Jacksonville game. So we got some options at tackle, even if we don't go. But I want Darrell Williams on a 1-year contract, and then see what else we got and move those guys up the roster board. And then when Darrell Williams goes at the end of the year, that's a comp pick. And that's what they are doing a lot. A lot of these guys are on 1-year deals. So they go, bam, that's a comp pick.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that makes some sense. So what is your general feedback from what you saw versus the Jags in that Hall of Fame game, just overall? What were your, say, top 2 players, and what were your 2 negative surprises, like people that you expected to do better and didn't?
1 second. Pardon me. Wanted to give a that had to hit
the pipes.
Had to clear the pipes. I actually I liked what I saw, and I didn't like what I saw with Tyron Johnson and Keelan Cole. I see them being the shifty guys that will go out and run a 9 pattern and will be there for us, because the guys that are going to be out there that are, who's going to be the third, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, they are still up in the air. They're still up in the air. So we got to figure that one out. Obviously, I've talked ad nauseum about the offensive line, and that's something that we have to worry about. But some of the surprises that I did like was the fact, like I said, Lester Cotton ran over people against the Jaguars. And the linebackers that we had with, I think his name was Masterson and Van Valkenburg, playing against 2s, those kids have played well in camp. We still got some questions. Oh, my God, we got questions and no answers in the secondary, and that needs to be addressed throughout the following 3 games. Love Mundangus. Love Mundungus, baby.
And what about ones that you were kind of expecting a little bit more from?
Ooh. Well, I was going to say we didn't really see any skill players out there. I mean, there was no Carr, no Renfro, no Waller. No, Waller's been out for a while.
Sitting to know.
Yeah. So I don't really see like any of the bright spots that I was expecting more from. But I'm sorry, Richie. It's like I'm going to have to take a pass on that, because I was expecting I expected to see what I expected to see. The one thing that I did notice was that when the Raiders were whooping that Jaguar ass and Peterson was playing close to the vest and he was tired of getting his ass kicked, then he started doing stunts to say, like, okay, we're gonna make this somewhat of a battle. But the Jaguars did not score until like the end of the 3rd quarter. They scored a field goal. And they did have a touchdown on special teams called back. And it was funny waving because it was coming into my end zone. I was waving at, Look at that yellow flag over there. And then they scored a touchdown at the very end. So I was very happy to see that basically the Raiders gave him a goose egg for most of the game. And I don't want to hear any of these Jaguar fans were chirping at me on the flight that we were going into Canton with. They said that, the very last game in Oakland, we renamed, it's the teal hole. It's not the black hole. I'm like, right there, buddy. I was there in that black hole during that last game. And I reminded them how the officials screwed that game. And if you want to know about it, I will be more than happy to give you a quick 2-minute dissertation on how the officials screwed the Raiders on that game.
I'll pass.
We can get into that perhaps at a later time.
That sounds like a separate.
That might be a separate short of some kind. But what I'd like to jump into, if your Vikings fan is still here, hopefully the gentleman from England is still around. Captain, to segue directly over to the preseason game, which is really where I think things are going to get really interesting for all four of our teams. What do you expect to see different against the Vikings?
I really don't see too much more. I think that they're going to play, in my estimation, they're going to play Carr and some of the guys. If you guys remember the last two preseasons, Derek Carr did not play at all. He did not play at all. And I think that was one. I mean, I know that you're trying to guard against injuries, but, it kind of comes out on the other end. Now, Carr has been playing.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry. Carr has been playing very well in the preseason at practices. So that's a good thing. But I would like to see him in some game action, maybe a series or two. And one thing I do want to say, I did not like the fact that the Raiders' first two possessions, actually maybe first three, I think one was like they went out on downs or a punt. Field goal. We saw too much of that last year, and I do not want to see that again this year. Thank you, Avatar. Appreciate it. See, Avatar even blessed me. That's nice. So, but yeah, I don't want to see
pretty nice fantasy option.
I don't want to see threes when I should be seeing 6+1, and that's what I want to see.
I think the one thing that I'm going to be curious about is if you're going to start seeing more alternative concepts being thrown out to see what or how they do against a different defense. So I think that's what we kind of generally saw with the Patriots in preseason. And I do wonder if that is something that Josh McDaniels has learned with his time as he's carried it over.
I'm sorry. What was that there, shipmate? I missed it.
I mean, what we saw with McDaniels is that when he was in New England with the offense, we saw them throw out various offensive concepts where they would script different types of series that you'd only see in preseason, and then you'd never see it again almost until the playoffs, right? That was kind of a typical New England thing that you often saw in the preseason. And they used blocking concepts in season, but the actual offensive plays you almost never saw again until the playoffs when they eventually made it that way or that far. So I do wonder if McDaniels is going to start doing something similar this year in the preseason with the Raiders, which is put out blocking concepts, but then throw out plays that you won't see again until way deep into the season, or if you guys make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I actually, it was amazing that you would mention that, Richie. Is I saw, I'm going to do it, Janice, for you. Oh my God. Okay, if you don't know what that Janice from Friends. Okay, I saw screen passes. I saw at least 2, if not 3, screen passes in the game, and I saw a reverse. I'm like, what in the hell? Was that a reverse I just saw? It was a reverse.
It's the Amelia Earhart offense.
Yeah, there you go. The Amelia Earhart offense. And it was working. Okay. So it's like, Obviously, they're not showing bread and butter, but and everybody was saying that we're auditioning Jacobs. I say yes and no, yes and no. McDaniel said he wanted to see his running backs getting some hits in. I think that's kind of like a whitewash. They are kind of seeing what they have with the Jacobs, but Jacobs is not going to be a bell cow.
Yeah.
Jacobs is not going to be a bell cow.
He uses multiple guys anyways. I mean,
right.
Look at New England. It was like a three-headed monster for whatever the situation was. I imagine he's going to do the same thing in Vegas.
Yeah. Mundungus, I definitely have seen that. I'm looking at the comment. It's like the best play from the Chargers was a missed field goal.
Yeah.
I didn't say
I've always
anything.
wanted to ask if that was Ray Finkel. Isn't that from Ace Ventura?
Laces out. Laces out.
Well, wasn't that Ray Finkel on the Dolphins?
Well,
because I'm pretty sure the clip for the Chargers is a Dolphins kicker missing.
It is.
So it had to be Ray Finkel.
But it's not Ray Finkel. It's Pete Stoyanovich.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But anyway, I think that that they're going to keep things kind of tight and whatnot, as far as they're not going to show a bunch of things. And I tell you what, the very last preseason game against the Patriots, people that are vying for roster spots, you're going to see them all night long. There won't be anybody. I mean, I think that they'll probably take the hot dog guy from Levy's, and it's Levy, just like my last name, from Levy's foods within the area within the Allegiant. They're going to bring the hot dog guy out there, and he's going to be playing right tackle, okay? Because they're not going to show anybody other than people that are needing roster spots or can supply hot dogs to the team. And so, and especially because it's the Patriots. If you think that McDaniels is going to show anything to Bill Belichick, the last preseason game, not anything at all.
Now, do you know what will happen, though? Just to mess with him, he'll ensure that there's a defensive concept that the Raiders run against the Patriots that is from the Patriots playbook.
Well, he'll have to check with Graham on that, but yeah.
No. But like I could totally see McDaniels doing something like that just to mess with him. Right. Well, you're going to see them line up exactly like the Patriots did when he was there, and just kind of say, "Now what you going to do?" And then I think it'll be funny. I think it's actually hilarious.
Well, actually, and Graham was a coach on Belichick's staff when he went from the Patriots to the Giants. So I can definitely see that as well. I could see
something like that. I could also see McDaniels pulling out just because you have a fairly decent running game there. I could also see him pulling out one of those old school kind of running style plays that they pulled out when they went right to the Super Bowl with the Patriots there, when they kind of had those double running back sets and stuff, or you hadn't seen that since
come out in a T formation.
Yeah, exactly. I could totally see something like that too, just to really stick it to him to say, yeah, power, like it's like just random stuff like that. I could totally see things like that being pulled out just to mess with Belichick, like just to say, like.
I was gonna say they were gonna go like you did with was it Gase when he was at the Jets, and they both Belichick just kept having the punter not snap it, just kept running the clock back and calling. I could see him doing that, like a little back and forth on the nuances of the rules.
Yeah. I could see little quirks like that, just because I could see McDaniels just kind of wanting to, poke fun or again, to your point, not show his hand, but just say, "Hi, how you doing?" I kind of agree with what your take is. Alex, what about you? Do you see anything coming out of the Vikings game with the Raiders that is going to really kind of have some kind of oddities? that you're going to say, "Oh, I didn't expect that"? No.
No, I don't. I've always thought, preseason, it's more to get the undrafted later picks some in-game reps, and let some of those people also audition for other teams and everything. I mean, what every team has as far as their ones and twos for the most part.
I hope someone knows who that is, because it's not directed at me. Okay.
Thank you.
No one in the right
I
mind
was
calls me
curious,
big.
though. I would like Sharif's question answered on what's going on with Darren Waller.
Yeah, actually, that is something that people have been asking about. Waller was seen at a Las Vegas Aces game the other day with his alleged girlfriend, because I don't know if you can call it, and I don't know what her name is, but she's hot. Yeah,
You gotta laugh.
Hey, Carper, get off, baby. Step the off, okay? Anyway.
Man, what a show we got going.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's for me.
A Raiders fan and a Chargers fan somehow meet via the Wild Wild West. It's like it's like Lava Life all over again,
Yeah. Anyway, but what was I
I
forgot
talking about Waller. What Darren Waller's up to.
Oh, Waller, thank you. I had CRS.
Yeah, we went dating service. Now we can go back to Waller.
Back to Waller.
Yeah.
Waller was seen with a real hottie that plays for the Aces, but she is married, I think. And they said that maybe that's his alleged girlfriend, but I don't know. But he made a like an interview. He's like, I might. So I don't know whether
That's why he's not practicing.
Sorry?
That's why he's not practicing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I tell you what, Alex. Wait a second. Here, let me get on my phone. Okay, hang on. Hey, yo.
You calling him?
Hey, D.
Coach, if you're talking, your mic's quiet.
Hey, D. Yeah, this captain. How you doing?
You call him D?
What?
Yeah. She is hot. I know she's hot.
Oh man.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Can I ask a question? Why ain't you practicing, man?
Don't be calling my girl. RC, you're the GOAT. You're the GOAT.
Hey, Carper, I got it.
I guess coming from a Chargers fan, he might say that sparks are flying, right?
You got Carper, you got a number? You got a digits? Well, how do you like that? I got a digits. There you go. How you like them apples? But yeah, he said Darren said that he's all right. I don't know why he's not practicing, but probably because no, it wasn't Felicia Sharif. She's not talking to me for the last several months.
Bye, Felicia.
Anyway, I don't know why he's not practicing, Alex. I can't begin. And he didn't really say anything. I'm sorry, but all I know is that he needs to be in the preseason. I don't care. I don't care as long as he comes out and plays well in the regular
season. That song from Dirty Dancing going right now.
I know, right? Time of my life. Oh man, yes indeed.
Even DZ know what movie I was doing. Okay.
Yeah.
DZ, and I say it the correct way on Richie's channel. DZ.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. DZ. It's important to get the Canadian or the Queen's English correct. So I wanted to. I mean, I do think it's interesting with the Waller, and I do think the Vikings and stuff. I do want to throw over to Coach because your preseason game is quite interesting, actually. Arguably, probably one of the more interesting ones that we're going to see in preseason, which is the Battle of LA is the preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think that there's going to be a little extra thrown in as a result of that kind of intercity battle, or do you think you're just going to see your prototypical preseason game, and it's just kind of nothing more to see there?
Well, based upon how Brandon Staley likes to conduct things in the preseason, I don't think it's going to be a whole lot of to do in regards to starters is concerned. He already said that Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and a few other high-end starters weren't going to see any preseason action at all. So from that perspective, I think we're just really working and focusing on the development of our reserves and our rookies to see where they're at in live action. So I think we'll see a lot of that. And I think similarly, I believe I want to say the defensive side of the ball will probably most likely be the same thing, same ilk that you won't see a whole lot of J.C. Jackson, won't see a whole lot of Asante Samuel, you'll see a lot of reserve guys. I think maybe a rep here, a rep there for that particular guy to see where he's at as far as if he hasn't been in the system already, like a Calvin Hoy. You might see Calvin Hoy take a snap or two because we're kind of thin an inside linebacker. But I would say overall that you're not going to see a whole lot because we play them again in the regular season, so I think that's going to be the real testament. And the end of the season, we're going to see them in the building. I think we're the home team in that game, so yeah, I think we'll save our fanfare and our action for that. What is Mad Dog talking about now? Really a battle though? Really eviction notice? Okay, all right then. Okay. In the words of Kevin Hart, are you done? Nah, Mad Dog's my guy. Nah, he likes messing with me in the chat, but yeah. I mean, overall, I don't think it'll be much. I think I'm really more focused on. I'm not really worried about who we playing. And honestly, I really want to see what our draft pick's going to do. I really want to see what our free agent acquisitions that our reserves going to do. I really want to see that. Guys on the bubble as far as making a roster. I want to see how they play. Because I think this game and the game after that will be the testament of where they'll get a lot of work. I think guys that are on the bubble for making the 53-man roster in that last game will be the only ones that play in the third game. So I think this game and the next game would be the real testament to see whether or not, these guys are going to be, those main guys that we can keep on the 53-man roster. There you go, Mad Dog. You're good.
Bigger things. What's going on with Derwin, man?
Pay the man. I listen. If I didn't get stuck in traffic, I would have worn my Derwin jersey in lockstep with paying him the money he needs to be paid so he can get back on the field. But I mean, I give him all the credit in the world. I mean, because he could honestly and truly just sit on the sidelines and wait till the ink dries on his contract. But he's been practicing and walking it through. He just haven't done any live action. So he's there. He's available. He's mentoring. He's in every meeting. He's in every drill. He's present. So I definitely give him credit for being a team player on top of the fact that his money isn't right yet.
By the way, that's the third movie reference in case you guys did not figure it out. We've had Dirty Dancing. We've had Good Will Hunting. And Pay the Man is out of Silver Streak. So just to make sure everybody
I also said Ray Finkel, Ace Ventura. So
Ace Ventura, we've had 4.
I feel like
and really, we may as well just add a 5th just to make it a full hand, and we'll just say Derwin James is really just saying, "Show me the money."
I was just going to say he stole my thunder. I was well, show me the money. Show me the money.
And I'm too tall to stand on top of the chair and still be on camera while I do the whole Jerry Maguire thing. So
right.
You're not a tiny Tom
there. Coach, I have some of the same questions for you as I did Captain, though.
Mm-hmm.
Preseason is actually one of my favorite times of the year because you see a bunch of guys that you've never seen before on your team. And some of them you'll never see again on your team, but that's kind of besides the point. But really, this is where some of the more interesting players show up and show out. And I mean, particularly on the Broncos, we've had some pretty wild success when it comes to UDFAs and whatnot. So I've always enjoyed preseason as a Broncos fan. With regards to these preseason games, starting with the first one, who are you most looking forward to see on your team? Maybe say 2 players or 2 position groups.
Players or position groups? Well, I'm definitely intrigued what the wide receiver 3 is going to look like in preseason because everything has been pointing to, and I've seen multiple videos, multiple comments, and multiple posts in regards to Jalen Guyton, Josh Palmer, and DeAndre Carter all having stellar preseason camps. Like their training camp has been stellar from top to bottom. And they look very polished and very progressive in their abilities when it comes down to the idea of them fighting for their wide receiver 3 position. So I want to see who actually in the live action is going to shine in a sense, catching passes from our backups, obviously, because Herbert's not going to play. But I would definitely want to see what Guyton, Palmer, and Carter all do in their reserve roles in the receiving game, because they'll be the ones getting most of the action because Keenan and Mike are not going to play. So that's one position I want to see. Clearly, right tackle, that's been still a sticking point for us on O-line. I think everything else is pretty much solidified. Storm Nunn hasn't looked good in practice, but Trey Pipkin has. So we want to see exactly who looks better in live action. So that's a sticking point. And I want to say reserve DB is the third one. I want to take a good gander at it. Who's going to be those reserve defensive backs when you go heavy pass sets? That's going to be in those third and long guys that are going to be able to contribute. Your JT Woods, your Taylor, your Dean Leonard, who all had great camps, by the way. The defensive coordinator and position coaches have all spoken their praises as far as them picking up the game, the playbook, and all those nice buzzwords that you want to hear. That guy is going to hopefully contribute to the team. So definitely want to see what they do in live action. I think that's really what it is. And I just honestly, truly, I really feel like I think Richie might share the sentiment that we're a little bit of a football nerd when it comes to our team. We want to deep dive and see who that next guy is, that fringe guy that is going to pop. So we're looking at reserve. We're looking at 4 quarters of preseason football because we want to see these guys and how they do in live action, because we don't get to see it every day.
Some of my favorite preseason action is the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, you see some. That's where you see the guys that are in the fourth string show out, and then the next game you often see them in the third string, and then that's where it really gets interesting. So you start saying, all right, you kind of moved up a notch. Now can you continue that ladder projection on your team? And for the Broncos, we saw guys like Shaq Barrett, Malik Reed, who's currently on our roster. We saw a bunch of those types of CJ Anderson is another guy that you guys might remember playing against, who all showed out in preseason, made the final roster, and have really solidified themselves in recent Broncos history with regards to their play on the field. Malik Reed probably being, the least kind of infamous of that group, but nonetheless, all of them were UDFAs or
pretty good names.
Not household names coming into the draft, and by and large, they've all done extraordinarily well for themselves throughout their NFL careers as a result of their play largely in preseason.
Yeah. Right? Drew Tranquil is the name that comes to my mind that I had my eyes on. Yeah, he was a former safety out of Notre Dame. Actually, he played safety in college, and he kind of
Smith type.
Yes, he put on about 15 pounds of muscle and started into playing inside linebacker. So 4th round draft pick, kind of took a flyer on him, and he's the odds on starter. He's the captain. He's a play caller on defense at this moment. So got a hell of a podcast too if you check that out. But yeah, I definitely say that Drew Tranquil was one of those guys that he, is kind of an unknown guy. Just kind of a guy that they figured that if you spend a 4th round pick on him, if he hits, he hits. He doesn't, and then he hit. So it was one of those things that kind of panned out for the Chargers.
Just everyone who is joining us live, just a couple quick comments. Super lively chat. So again, thank you so much for joining us live. This is amazing. However, if you are on Twitter and you're upset that you're commenting on the video and we can't see it, please come over to either Facebook or YouTube. For whatever reason, Twitter has removed the ability to flow through to the comments on all of these streaming services. So we don't want to have you miss out and not get your questions answered. Now, with regards to everyone who is joining us live on the whether it be Facebook or YouTube, feel free to drop your questions with regards to the preseason games as well as certain players, and we'd love to answer them. Coach, on the same game and in the same process, who are you most concerned about?
Jerry Tillery, the first former number 1 draft pick, kind of the. I give him a lot of credit for being a really good pass rusher. But again, that's what he was. That's what he did as well. He did that well in college, so it wasn't a surprise that he was a decent interior pass rusher. But he has not progressed in a run stopping, from the run stopping space that we've all had wanted him to do, and in year 5, in a sense, because again, they didn't pick up his 5th year option, so he's playing on, This is actually his 4th year, so he's playing on his fourth year of his deal. And again, with if he was playing well, they wouldn't have felt the need to bring in Austin Johnson and Sebastian Joseph Day. So I kind of feel like they did that and drafted Otito Ogbonnobi from UCLA. So I feel like that he's the one that is kind of like the odd man out in a sense. Although they still kind of have him slated as an interior D lineman starting at the moment, but I feel like that one of those guys that they picked up in free agency or the draft will ultimately supplant him in playing early downs in the run game. But yeah, overall, that's the most concerning person. And yet again, what they do with the right tackle position, because again, Storm Norton is the starter right now, but he hasn't looked good in practice. So I would like to believe that if wiser heads prevail, that somebody of the name of like Trey Pipkins or Jamari Salyer will be the one starting there week 1. But that's a concern of mine as well, to see how they do in that regard.
I
saw that decent. Yeah, I don't see. Again, I'm a former linebacker, so I understand that perspective, from that perspective and that mindset more so than most people, most casuals do. I'm not concerned about Kenneth Murray, honestly. I think he has the skill set and the physical tools to be good tackling the inside linebacker. Now, the only thing he has to work on, honestly and truly, is his coverage skills. So, if he improves that, which is really just it's really mental in a sense, and understanding your positioning and where you need to be on the field from a zone perspective, then he will be just fine. But I thought
he's a freak athlete. I mean,
he's a freak athlete. Like, he's a freak athlete. He's strong, tall, rangy. Again, I think that if you have a good, again, when it comes to linebacker, when it comes to stopping the run as well, you have to understand that you're only as good as your upfront guys.
Yeah.
Your D-line is bad, what they were last year.
Same as like a running back with the offensive line.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you have a decent offensive line that's going to hold up their end of the bargain, then you can make plays. But if you got 2 or 3 guys on your body at snap every play, you're not going to make a lot of plays. So people criticize Kenneth Murray for having a down year, when I think he had a decent rookie season. I think it was a byproduct of what he had in front of him. There's a famous quote that Ray Lewis said, and I always would stick with me, that he said, he flat out to the GM, I need bigger guys in front of me. Flat out. I don't. These 280-pound guys are not getting it done. I need 330-pound guys in front of me to take up these blocks so I can get in the lane and make plays. If I can't do that, I'm not effective.
Coach, you kind of hit on a thing there that I've actually been saying for a few years now, which is I think that the NFL has passed by some of these older school coaches that are not taking some of the really big guys seriously at the offensive line position. And I think they're not looking directly at the college tape as much as they should. Gone are the days where you can get away with an offensive lineman in today's NFL that is sub 300 pounds, in my opinion, to move people out of the way. You need these larger offensive linemen, which are more athletic than they have ever been coming out of college. I mean, Captain, you hit on it with the gentleman.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are 6'8" and 360 or 350 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing these 40 times out of some of these guys, and you're saying,
Gordon Davis.
And you're saying, are you for real?
Yeah.
And you're saying, wait, the clock broke, right?
I mean, I know you guys all saw the video of the Eagles Davis just bull rushing the center.
Oh man, you talking about a guy that's 330 pounds, 340 pounds, running a 4.740. With like a 1.6 split in his 40 time. That's unheard of at 340 pounds.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's absolutely ridiculous.
It's insane.
And
those type of guys, those space eaters, you need those. Those are not a lost art in my book. They're not a lost art. So I'm right there with you, Rich.
No, and I think that the NFL needs to catch up with the fact that these high school players are training more like college players at the high school level. And that needs to be factored into some of the decision-making processes. I think you're starting to see some of the teams that have really good lines, both defense and offense, they've caught on to that fact. And then some of the teams that are simply behind the times are, just simply behind the times. Mm-hmm. And I think that the rest of the teams need to start catching up so we can start seeing better products on the field at the NFL level across the board, in the fact that these young guys are training earlier and earlier, more like pros in their early stages of their careers, if you can call it that. And I mean, I know guys that were training in early stages of high school to turn pro for hockey here in Canada. And some of them are training even as early as the later stages of public school.
Yeah.
And I know probably almost a dozen NHL hockey players that I knew personally. And they were training, some of them as early as grade 8, and then others, into the early stages of high school. But all of them were training almost like pro athletes, all within those early formative years of their physical growth and muscle development. And I mean, these guys were coming in and they were jacked when they were coming into grade 10 and 11. And you saw some of these guys, some of these dudes were 6'4" and 245 pounds. And they were just 1% body fat. It was ridiculous.
Although, there's catch-22 with some of that, because then down the road they're more prone to be injured.
That could be a byproduct as well. Just you got to sometimes.
There's a yin and a yang to how you train and what you do. I mean, most of the guys that I grew up with were kind of country strong.
But
too,
I mean, to your point,
they were just
no. Well, and to your point though, it just sports in general are just getting so more competitive, at an early age. It's kind of ridiculous. But like you said, I mean, I guarantee there's some second grader right now that is getting trained like he's got a pro day tomorrow.
These clips,
I have a young boy just across the street from me here who is turning 10, and every night he is training on his biking probably a few kilometers a day, training for both hockey and baseball.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he's 10. He's not quite 10. He's almost 10. So you got to think he's almost 10 and he's already doing that. And then you got to then extrapolate that out to when, he hits 12, 13.
Yeah. Burnt out.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be 12, 13 years old, and you're going to swear he's 16 years old, because he's going to come out like this. And you're going to say, how did you get to that size? And you're like, well, I started when I was 9.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's what you're getting now, is you're getting these young kids that are seeing what it takes and are being coached up to get to that level. And they know that in order for them to have that competitive advantage, they have to start and be disciplined. And their parents are helping them do it.
Yeah. And a lot of these camps out there are feeding that as well. These quarterback camps, the running back, wide receiver camps, when you got kids that are coming out of high school, polished route runners. You never saw that back in the day.
No, never. It
took you 4 to 5 years to learn how to run routes when you finally got to the league.
Well, coach, take that a step further. How many of these quarterbacks are coming out of middle, coming out of almost into high school, and you're seeing them throw a polished route tree as a quarterback?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean,
that was just see more and more, even small schools doing spread offenses. You don't really see people running triple options or power run stuff all that much anymore. It's all throw. I mean, my high school, they throw the ball 90 times a game. They do not run. That's just how the coach does it.
There it is.
And it's so you see their quarterback who's got 70 touchdowns or something ridiculous and 5,000 yards, but it's he kind of had to, because that's all they did was just let him throw.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat that said a kid that coming out of high school a lot of times will have 5,000 in-game throws before he gets to the college.
Yeah,
it's just in-game throws. That's not practice. It's just in-game throws.
Yeah, it's
crazy. Yeah,
this is exactly 100%. So DZ, look at it this way. You have podcasts like ours where we are educated enough just as podcast hosts here to speak fairly confidently on things like route concepts, route trees, offensive styles, and footwork. And that's just on the podcast level here. Think of what's actually being taught now at much lower levels in football. I mean, Coach, there's a reason why you call yourself Coach Defense. So these are the types of things where, these younger kids are learning more and more about the technical elements of the game earlier on. And I think the internet and YouTube and just the available information that you now have at your disposal as a just a member of society at large is now so vast that if you're serious about something, you go all the way down that rabbit hole because you know it's going to benefit you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a personal experience story of mine real quick is that I had to pivot around about, I guess, halfway through my coaching career when I was coaching linebackers, is because these kids were coming to me so polished at 8th, 9th, and 7th grade levels that, me giving them the basics that I thought they would need because they were lacking that or weren't getting that up to that grade level.
Right.
They were always surpassed that. They were telling me things that I was, honestly shocked. So I leaned towards more teaching advanced high school to college reps and drills and ideologies. And I even give some kids some pro stuff. I was literally teaching some pro level concepts at the 8th grade level in 1 year I coached. So that leans to the idea that how much more advanced these kids come in to these programs at, right before high school or at the high school age. So,
and think about what they then do when they're at the college level.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're talking pro stuff. I mean,
clearly.
clearly.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that's I think what we were talking about earlier is that everything has been shifted backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like or earlier, if you want to kind of push it that way. And that's why you're seeing such competition at the NFL level like we've never seen before.
Yeah.
That's why you're seeing offenses and defenses do things where you're saying, what?
Right.
Really? And you're getting guys like Calvin Johnsons who are freak athletes before their time.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing guys come into the NFL. And now it's almost more the norm than it is the exception, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're starting to really see that more and more and more across the board. I mean, Captain, look at your main guy on your team with Max Crosby. So he comes in as some unknown, and as comments here have told us on the show here, stepped up in preseason and just blew the doors off the NFL. And now you literally have to be living under a rock to not recognize the fact that he is within that upper tier of the NFL in terms of pass rushing.
Right. I think that and I'm sorry, guys, I think he got juiced for defensive rookie of the year when the other Bosa in San Francisco won it. I really think it should have been Crosby. And I'm saying that unbiased, objective.
No thing.
I'm sorry. I really think that he had more of where he was playing and what he did compared to Bosa. Not your Bosa, Coach, the other Bosa.
Yeah, no, yeah. Joey's definitely a different class than Max. So I guess.
Right. So I really think he got juiced. He should have been defensive rookie of the year. So that's just me, though.
So, getting kind of back on track to preseason games, and as we look ahead, Alex, we're going to throw over to you, and then I'll kind of bring out the Broncos.
I forgot we were talking about the preseason.
Pardon me?
I said I forgot we were talking about the preseason.
Yeah,
but everything ties in because you're getting these guys that are at the back end of rosters more and more now, even than before, that are just they're underrated coming out of the draft, and you start seeing them step up and become almost, in some cases, superstars at the NFL. I'm going to just push back and look at Shaq Barrett as a prime example of that.
Yeah.
Undrafted free agent to Denver and is now in the upper kind of sliver of pass rushers in the NFL level. And he's a great example of someone like that. But looking ahead to the Chiefs preseason game, you guys are playing the Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
Okay. Who you got? You got Ditka and God.
Hurricane. Hurricane Ditka.
I'll take Ditka.
Yeah. So, not to be confused with doubles, but the Bears are going to go ahead and play the Chiefs. The Bears, typically speaking, have pretty strong lines and generally a strong linebacking core, even though their main linebacker wants to be traded because they don't want to pay him.
Come to the Chiefs.
But at the end of the day, though, it's probably not going to impact your game because he probably wouldn't have played anyways. But they covet kind of the more aggressive, gritty style positions in that division. How do you think that your team will hold up against a team like the Bears, who, dare I say, typically field a different style than the Chiefs are used to wanting or having to play?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always kind of hard to assess how it'll match up in the preseason because you're not even sure what, especially in the trenches and the offensive and defensive line, you don't know what rotation's going to be out there. They may be deciding to give someone more work at, right tackle and have someone else in it at a guard. So I don't know if it'll necessarily match up from like the mindset of how they would play in the regular season. Because Robert Quinn's not going to be out there. They're not going to be doing. They're not going to be doing the blitzes and stunts they do with him, or to open up opportunities, in a game. I think, for the most part, the preseason's kind of vanilla. Keep stuff pretty base and just get guys, especially when you get a little later into it. Just get guys out there to get reps and kind of make a name for themselves internally, and hopefully that turns into a spot. I don't envision seeing a whole lot from the Chiefs' ones, and maybe even the Bears aren't deciding to do much. I can see them playing Fields a little longer, and kind of their offense just because it's all new. But I don't imagine we'll see much of KC's ones.
Kermit isn't playing?
Yeah, why would he?
No, I just like saying that.
Yeah. Kermit's a Super Bowl
he's going to be scolding his brother to tell him to get off the gram.
TikTok.
Yeah, right? I heard that they're trading Jackson Mahomes for Brittany Griner, so I'm for that.
Wow.
It'd be an upgrade.
Yeah. But I guess it doesn't really answer your question, Rich. But I think it's just hard to assess how that would match up in the preseason, just because there's going to be so many young guys that aren't going to. Some might not even be around after that game's over to play. So
I guess when one looks at your roster, I mean, you have a fair number of open-ended questions, really, if we're going to be honest. Who are you most excited to see? And do you think that Andy Reid's going to want to play some of those wide receivers that you're trying to see where they land on your chart? Do you think you're going to start seeing that blend there to kind of see what happens in terms of where they fit, where they end up landing? Or do you think that Reid is pretty much set on maybe 1, 2, and 3, and you're only going to ever see the backups?
Yeah, I mean, I think they, I think they have a pretty good sense of the 4 they're going to use. I could see them going. I could see them going for maybe 2 or 3 series, but I think they're pretty set on Scantling and Juju and Sky Moore and Hardman, and that's kind of the core 4 rotation there. And I don't think there's much anyone can do to kind of cut into that fold. They'll probably keep 5 or 6, but I mean that's the 4 that are going to get all the targets, because you got to also factor in Kelsey. So I don't see them playing much. I think out of those 4, Sky Moore would play the most, just because he's a rookie. And
are you sure? Because I mean, he's had that practice scare, so I was wondering if they might.
Well, that's
the
what
others.
I'm saying. I don't know if I really don't see him risking any of them. But I think out of the 4, if someone was going to get more time than the other 3, it would be Sky Moore. But he doesn't really have. I know that they had a scare last week, but he was back the next day, and from what I've seen, he's healthy and has been putting together a pretty great camp to this point. But I think they're going to want to see how his route running and the timing meshes up against a different defense. So I think they got that pretty much hashed out. The one person I'm excited to see on the offensive side of the ball is Pacheco. the running back they took, I think the 6th round from Rutgers, and he's really been kind of the
Running
top.
back. Running back.
Yeah. Well, but they've been using him. So
hey, we just got a playoffs reference. Good for you.
But they've been kind of using him, spreading him out, having him run some slot plays, kind of catching passes out in space and stuff. How Reed uses his running backs, but he's been putting together some pretty good tape up to this point.
Wait a minute, isn't that what Clyde Edwards-Helaire was supposed to be?
Yeah, allegedly.
Weird, because it sounds like they're using someone else to fill his role.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, it is preseason, and you're getting this news in a vacuum, right? I mean, they could be giving you that, and it's Pacheco out there with the 3rd string, but they're not telling you that. It's but he has been actually working in with the ones. But from what I've seen, Reed's planning to kind of do a committee with Helaire kind of being the top end of it, but it seems that McKinnon and Jones might be the odd man out, but it looks like they want to have 3 that are kind of rotating in.
So I just want to quickly answer this. No, Jason, I'm not buying time. I'm just intentionally ignoring you. It's fun seeing you squirm in the chat.
Hey, be nice. That is the voice of God. That is what is it? Vin Diesel. That's is Diablo or the I can't remember all of his monikers, but
no, I know. I'm just messing with them, but I will get to your question, and you will get a direct answer when it's the Broncos' turn to go up. I felt that he had waited long enough for at least some form of response to the question, and I have seen Jason make multiple comments, so I do appreciate you being here. And Alex, just one other piece. What are you most concerned about? I mean, I kind of laid the groundwork for you to maybe go into that because you're dealing with a different style of team. So I think the interesting thing that, and I'm kind of equating this to what the Broncos saw last year, for example. So I'm kind of speaking from, personal anguish. I had to come to grips with it. It was a rough experience, but I'm good now. When you deal with different divisions, particularly based on geographical location, winter being something that is, say, more predominant in the north, and say a longer runway when it comes to cooler weather as you go further south. When you look at, say, the Bears, the Steelers, the Ravens, that whole division, generally speaking, just being, closer to where I'm located than, say, where, the rest of you are, they typically play football different. We're a different people further north. We're used to
different kind.
Yeah, like, let's just put it this way.
We don't like your kind.
My whole family is just built different. We're a bit of a strange breed. And I don't believe in wearing pads. I believe in hitting people at full speed. And when I break a bone, I kind of look to see if the bone's sticking out, and I'll tape it up and continue playing, and then we'll deal with it later. That's just the way I was. That was just the way I was, brought up. So when I look at what you guys are dealing with when you're talking about those kind of northern teams, like I said, they value the old school style positions, your middle linebackers, your offensive linemen, your defensive linemen, and the NFL is starting to try to focus on more of the exciting style of football, which is your quarterbacks, your wide receivers, and high-powered offenses. So what are you most concerned about in this game on your team when you're going against a team that just feels a different type of team than yours?
They want to see what the menu is at the damn.
I knew it. I knew he was going to do that. I knew it. I was just like, Cap's going to say something about the Waffle House.
There he is.
I didn't know what the menu is, man.
I knew it.
I mean, and you know what? Every time on this show, I always get hungry for Waffle House on Wednesday. And it's like right down the street from me.
Waffle House is great. I just want to put that out there once again. Waffle House.
It is a pretty fine establishment. But,
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing I guess the biggest thing I'd be worried about, I'm not going to directly answer your question yet, but would be injuries for this game.
Yeah, I think
Just like I said, I get what you're saying about kind of being in the North and power football and prioritizing other positions, but I just don't. I don't think that that's going to play as much of a factor in preseason, especially preseason game one, as it would in December in a matchup, especially with it being August. I mean, Chicago's not going to be cold. None of that, the North football aspects aren't going to really be playing a factor. And the Bears roster is really not that good. Like their ones are not that good, so I can only imagine what their 3s and 4s are like. So I just don't think that stuff's going to play that much of a factor.
I saw it, Rich. I got it.
In the preseason.
Yeah. And by the way, take off I was about ready to do my Geddy Lee, but because I'm coughing, I didn't want to do it, because I would try to do Geddy Lee at a high pitched voice and I would have a coughing fit. So apologies. So there you go.
Well, as long as you keep your left lung.
There you go.
Yeah.
And your hand off the button.
Yeah.
Hands up. Hands up when you're talking.
Not the red. So
we got Shrek going. Okay.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We're just doing movie references today, man. I thought that was the theme, man. I thought that was the
movie references.
Yes, indeed. Unintentional, but intentional.
Yeah. So, but
I guess
my point being is regardless of the weather, though, the teams are different than the rest of the AFC West division. So, are you interested in maybe your offensive line versus their D line, just because they might be built a little bit differently? Are you interested in maybe their running game versus your middle linebackers? Like that's the type of thing I was kind of getting at.
Yeah. I mean, I guess not really, not for preseason. I guess myself, I would say, just personally, I am more interested.
you got Cap to give the whole good Santa Claus laugh on that one.
Stop it! You're gonna make me have a coughing fit, you bastard.
You're gonna kill him. Stop it.
Oh, man.
I got your click here, right here.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, Cap, but I think somebody said "old man in technology" last week when your button got pushed. And I thought
because he goes, it was like the classic frame. You're like this, like, all right, hold the phone down. See ya.
Right.
For those that didn't see it at the beginning of the show, I owned up to it.
Yeah, you did.
I owned up to it. And because I will take the faux pas, and I owned up to it because that's the type of guy I am.
And your compadre didn't ratch out either. We just said it, stuff happens. We didn't ratch you out.
Yeah, I know it. That's why I said I owned up to it. But that makes it fun, That's what makes it fun.
So the Denver Broncos are going to be playing the Dallas Cowboys. Last year, the Cowboys did not fare very well against the Denver Broncos.
But it was red though. I guess it's.
It was red. Yep.
That's on. Yep.
But last year the Denver Broncos actually made pretty quick work of the Cowboys, and really, when the Broncos played the Cowboys, that was a bit of a groundwork, if you will, in terms of or framework on how to beat the Cowboys, because the Cowboys were rolling last year until they played the Broncos, and Fangio's defense really killed them, like absolutely killed them.
Rubbing.
That was a beating. Like that was a beat down, and it wasn't even close. And so that really laid a lot of the groundwork on how to beat the Cowboys. And the Broncos defense really showed the league what needed to be done. And it was really from that point forward where the Cowboys were
downward spiral.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah. If I could take a page out of Steve Austin's book, he stomped the mud hole in him and walked it dry.
yeah, and it was not good. And so I do expect that with our current defense and our defensive coordinator that you're going to see probably a little bit more of the same. I've heard some really, really good things about our new acquisitions at the interior defensive line. I do think that the Broncos, you're going to start seeing some shifting on the depth chart. I think our rookie is going to climb. Wazirike, I think, is going to start moving up into the kind of fringe kind of first, I think, after the first preseason game, because I think that he's going to really start wreaking some havoc. And I do wonder if the Broncos will start shifting some guys around in that game to better fit basically what worked. So when you look at what worked against a team like the Cowboys and others, you saw a bigger interior lineman shifted just a little bit out to the outside. And I do wonder if you're going to start seeing DJ Jones move out of the DT nose tackle style position and move more to the defensive end, which is where I thought he was going to end up going. But when you look at the Broncos depth chart, they have him sitting right in the dead center at the D tackle position. And I think that he might be better suited at the D end.
Tell people what they want to know, though.
Which is what?
What's the over-under on catches for Eric Saubert?
Oh, well, I mean, everyone knows that I may be
pronounced Saubert.
I mean, it's Saubert. I mean, let's just call the proper name.
It's Saubert, and I felt in your general direction.
Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelt of elderberries.
Elderberries. There you
go. For those of you who don't know, that is a Monty Python Holy Grail reference,
yes,
which may be the best movie ever made. And I'm willing to stand by that comment. But I do actually think that Saubert is the perfect style tight end for the outside zone running scheme. He is your perfect blend of pass blocker and pass catcher. And every outside zone scheme in the run game needs a tight end exactly like Eric Saubert. And I know probably most of our viewers are sick of me talking about him, but I really do think that you're going to see a lot more of the same that you saw him in the preseason last year with the Denver Broncos, except I actually think that we just have more gifted offensive coordinators on our team. They're going to say, we probably should use him and actually do so, because what we saw from Saubert last preseason was probably the second best tight end overall in our roster who really showed out. And then they proceeded to bury him on the depth chart and never use him again. And so I actually think we're going to see him used more completely as a proper tight end. And we'll start probably see him used in two tight end sets where he'll actually block on the outside of the tackles and do the types of things that you expect to see when you're using that type of personnel sets.
Indeed. We'll be watching because we know that you're number one in the Eric Saubert fan club. So
I am. I may be the captain of the fan club for Eric Saubert. Like
we need like a spin-off series of Saubert, the Saubert Watch or something.
Yeah, he's
story. The Saubert saga.
Do you know what my problem is? Is that I hate seeing players that I've seen do well and then not used properly. And I've seen that on several teams. Like I've seen the Raiders misuse a few players.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen the Chargers and Chiefs misuse a few players. Like for example,
that goes around the whole league. You can name 30.
No, 100%. But like to me, it's so obvious. Like when you see a tight end that can do all of the tight end stuff, and then you see him not make the field, you start saying why.
Oh yeah.
And then when you see a running back who, like, for example, like CJ Anderson with John Fox, for example, when you saw CJ Anderson run for the first part of the year, averaging 4.5 yards a carry, and then never see the field, you started saying why.
Yeah.
And so it's the little things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's called Home Alone, right? And
There you
so
go.
we're just really sticking with our theme of movies, right? And that's really where we're going with here. So, I mean, if you ever need a movie trivia episode, I'd say we pretty much covered a pretty
wide
good
gamut. Yeah, I think.
We've done pretty well here.
Yeah, cast a wide net.
Yeah. But I do think that the Broncos are going to see some really interesting things in this game. I think the Cowboys are going to start trying to throw some new concepts at the Denver Broncos. I do think that the Broncos have a couple glaring issues and some things that I am personally interested in seeing. One is the right tackle position to see how they hold up. The second is the middle linebacker position. I personally believe that the middle linebacker spot on the Denver Broncos is the weakest position group on our team. And because you're likely going to not see the starters play, I am very interested to see what our backups do. And I think that'll be very telling for us in terms of what we need to focus on as roster cuts happen, as some free agents still linger. And I think that that's going to be some really interesting things. And then another interesting position group, just because I actually think that the Broncos are going to be forced to cut someone that they probably don't want to. And that's the outside linebacker spot. They moved Baron Browning, who was probably our best inside linebacker last year overall. They moved him to outside linebacker, which is where he played about 40% of his college career at, based on his own request. And so he moved out to outside linebacker.
That was his request? I didn't know that.
That was his request.
Really?
And he's been apparently doing extraordinarily well there in the practices and whatnot. So the Broncos are now drafting Nick Bonino, having Malik Reed brought back on a 1-year deal, having Malik Reed come back on a 1-year deal. Malik Reed on a 1-year deal, drafting Nick Bonino, moving Baron Browning to outside linebacker, bringing in Randy Gregory as a free agent. We now have a pretty deep outside linebacker room, and I'm very, very curious to see where all of those outside linebackers land. Because you can't keep like 6 outside linebackers. You need to really narrow that group.
Would they move Browning back inside? I mean, if it came to it, rather than cut him or someone like, someone.
Well, they would never cut Browning because he proved to be too good of a linebacker. But yeah, I think they could move him back inside and just kind of say deal with it. But the end result is that he's shown to be such a gifted outside linebacker in practices and whatnot. That's the narrative that's come out of the camps and everything.
Yeah,
that the Broncos are going to be put in a really, really interesting spot when it comes to the outside linebacker group. And what preseason allows you to see is the back end depth. Mm-hmm. So that's what's going to be really interesting. Where do all these guys sit at the end of the first preseason game, and what kind of moves are made to kind of maybe reshuffle the roster to kind of give you a better idea of who sits where.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, the Broncos have had some interesting injuries or dings, whatnot, in the recent camp practices. So when one looks at running back position, which is one of my favorite positions on a football team, we brought in an additional 2 running backs this yesterday, and we brought in another 2 the day before, as we ended up with some additional injuries. And Melvin Gordon apparently has a foot or toe injury, so we brought in a couple guys as camp bodies. We had an ACL injury to one of the guys that I was quite convinced was probably going to make the roster in Demaria Crockett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was a very underrated running back, and all news out of camp was saying that he was showing out to be a potential star. And he's a very big body guy. So he's, I think, between 5'11" and 6 foot, and he's about 230. So he's a big boy. And he had some good runs in last preseason, and I actually thought that he was going to show out this year as kind of showing that progression. he had an ACL injury which set him back, and we brought in Borghi, who is apparently showing some promise for the Denver Broncos, who might look to be a bit of a Philip Lindsay kind of speed, change of pace guy, which could be an interesting mix into the Denver Broncos running back lineup. So I think we have some really interesting stuff going on in the Denver Broncos, especially with our scheme change, which most of you guys would only remember if you can recall back to the 2019 Denver Broncos. But as most other teams fans don't often follow close enough on terms of like offensive scheme changes of their opponents, you'll just start seeing subtle differences in terms of how the Broncos offense looks, because we're going to be moving to an outside zone run scheme, which is the type of offense that you would have seen from, let's say, the Seattle Seahawks or the Denver Broncos from the John Elway era. That's, if I'm going to try to give you an idea of what you're going to see, that's what you're going to likely see from the Denver Broncos this season.
All right. Real quick, Cap, what do you think about Zamir White's performance on over the weekend?
I loved it, and actually, I thought that his performance was fantastic. In addition to the fact that he was injured through the OTAs and through a lot of the portions of practice, so basically, I think he had maybe one practice before the game, and he tore it up, and you can see that he was full of vim and vigor. He wanted to show what he can do, and that's why the RBC that's going to be going on in Vegas this year, it's going to be Jacobs, it's going to be Zamir White, it's going to be Bolden,
Drake,
Drake,
and Drake, yeah,
Drake.
yeah,
gotta have the Drake.
Right, I got you, but it's like I said, but there's going to be sets where Drake is going to be more of the pass catcher out of the backfield, because that's what he really is adept at. But you did see some catches being caught by Jacobs and Zamir White. So it's going to be, maybe you think you see Drake and he'll run the ball. Maybe you think White and Jacobs and they'll be a pass catcher. So I like the fact that McDaniels is not going to pull a Gruden. And when you're in this set, you're exclusively going to see this. And if you see the receiver out here, you're going to exclusively see a bubble screen to the receiver out to the left that will lose 3 yards. I mean, it was infuriating to see that all the time. But yeah, Zamir White is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, Mr. Smarter too.
Some emails, he'd still be there. So
and you know what? Get me started on that. But I really think, it was effed up what the NFL is doing to Gruden, but they actually did the Raiders a favor.
Yeah, they helped you out.
They actually did the Raiders a favor, because if he would have been the coach last year, the Raiders would have not made the playoffs.
I would argue that Devontae Adams and Derek Carr no longer Raiders at this moment if he's still a coach.
Yeah. But I actually think, though, as well, that if there is a team that is running back short and up until that trade deadline, because remember, he's not signed next year. If there is a team that is a running back short and they give a good offer for Jacobs before the trade deadline, he might be gone.
I mean, there's a few running backs on the market. I think Jacobs and Kareem Hunt are out there as far as stable running backs.
Yeah, but Kareem wants to get paid.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's 27.
Yeah.
Well, I just saw where, and I don't know what the validity is. I saw something on one of the push to get this link. It said Kareem Hunt for Jimmy Garoppolo, even up trade, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, if Deshaun gets suspended for a year, I can actually honestly see that.
Yeah, I mean, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure the Browns have. I mean, it doesn't equal out with the money. I'm not sure what Garoppolo's at, but I mean, he was at $25 million, wasn't he, a year?
Yeah, he's 24. His base salary is $24.2 million. I think the Niners only eat 1.4 of that in dead money. But the Cleveland has $44 million in cap space, so they're good.
Yeah, and you also have to remember is that the Browns structured Watson's contract in such a way where they freed up a boatload of money this year.
$44 million in cap space because they're not
exactly.
Exactly.
So I actually go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I do think they are going to trade Roquan Smith. I just and from what I've seen, it looks like the Ravens.
I don't think they have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, and they got a new GM. He's the Chiefs tree. He's from the Veach tree of execs, and I can just see him wanting to just get in there and cut, just trim the fat. So, but from what I've seen, I mean, I would love the Chiefs to get him, but will that happen? Probably not. But from what I've seen, it looks like the Ravens or Broncos are kind of rumored to be the front runners are teams in need, I guess. Obviously, from what you just said, sure the Broncos would like to have him, but I hope if he's not going to KC, he doesn't go anywhere else in the West. So.
I can see why you would say that.
I mean, Roquan's been linked to 3 of the AFC West teams.
Yeah. But again, the Chargers, you looking at it from the perspective of you already have 4 inside linebackers in house, and you have to pay Derwin because Roquan has to walk in with a new contract to be traded anyway. So unless you're planning on figure out a way to pay him and Derwin at the same time, I highly doubt that he will end up in LA as a Charger. I highly doubt that.
I was going to say, I haven't heard him with us, and I don't think the Raiders would be amenable to that because, again, you got to pay him, and you're looking at a Waller extension next year as well. So I don't think he goes to the Raiders, at least not at this juncture.
He has been connected with the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Chiefs in the West directly. The Broncos and the Raiders more directly than the Chiefs. The Chiefs have not necessarily valued the inside linebacker position as much. Frankly, as of late, the Broncos haven't either. However, with the change of ownership and the change of GM, we may finally start seeing the inside linebacker position being looked at as a legitimate chess piece on the team again, which for me personally, I would love to see because that's such a critical position in the defense. Once you get past the interior of the defensive line, that's really your last line of defense in the major run stopping game. And if we all remember the 2015 Denver Broncos defense, we had Danny Trevathan and
Brandon Marshall
Brandon Marshall, who offered modestly similar skill sets, although Marshall was a little bit of a better coverage linebacker, and Danny Trevathan was more of your Swiss Army knife type guy who was a good instinctual guy. And so when you have that type of mixed bag of inside linebackers, it's important to have the 2 tandems and then a backup guy to kind of bolster that entire room. And I think Jonas Griffith and Roquan Smith would be a fantastic tandem with Josie Jewell as your backup to kind of both of those guys.
You got to get Jewell out of there. You got to get him out of there.
Jewell, in my opinion, is a huge risk just because he's coming off an injury, and you just never know what that's going to look like for a guy who was on the ascent. And you just never know if they'll be able to continue or if it's a huge kind of drop off.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't want to see it, but Roquan would definitely fit with that interior up front D line that the Broncos have for sure. But yeah, I don't want to have to deal with that on a two games a year basis. Because again,
it would only be fitting though for how this offseason has
gone.
Would.
That one last week class. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Why not?
Yeah, right. Why not bring Roquan to the West as well?
The AFC West has gone gangbusters with
it might as well
talent.
be
yeah.
I mean, No, do you want to be super interesting? Is how many of the Pro Bowl players are going to come right out of the AFC West?
A lot.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have.
A lot.
I think you're going to have quite the lengthy list, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, we will be fighting the pass rushers to get out of the West as far as being Pro Bowlers and All Pros.
No, none of the Chiefs are going to be in it. They'll be in the Super Bowl. So.
Oh, here you go.
I
There you go.
better knock on wood for that one.
Yeah, right.
And you woke up.
Your arrogance, buddy, is going to come back and bite you.
And then you woke up. So that was fantastic. But I mean, guys, there's no major NFL news. I mean, we all kind of spoke about Tim Patrick's injury last week, Demaria Crockett's injury last week as well. We're starting to see a little bit more of these soft tissue injuries that seem to be becoming more and more out of camp. I did some personal digging into this, and it seems that the only real way of getting around it is to build up. I agree, Avatar. I agree.
No.
The only real way of helping with the soft tissue injuries like ACL is to build up the muscle around the joint. Although what I've typically seen out of a lot of these players that are getting these ACL injuries is that a lot of them have taken extra steps to build up muscle and lifting heavy weights in the off season. So I actually wonder if some of the issues that are causing some of these ACL injuries are not so much a lack of building up muscle, but a lack of building flexibility in the off season. So coupling strength and conditioning with something like a yoga or something like that, which helps build up the flexibility.
Yeah, well, I think it's a threefold process. I think two of the things you hit on, building muscle around the particular joint and flexibility is two of the things. But I think the biggest thing that people aren't equating or more focusing on, in a sense, is that people that have recovered successfully from ACL injuries and haven't re-injured them, like your Odell Beckham, since he had an ACL injury, he had re-injured it in the Super Bowl. They've actually gone to the extreme of teaching themselves how to run again. Like they change their running style. In a sense, the way they cut, the way they plant, and things of that nature, they all just completely utterly go to a specialist and change the way they run. So that lends to the idea that along with the training that you do to rebuild that particular area, they run different. So that lends to the idea they won't necessarily re-injure that same body part again. So I've seen that happen to people that recover well from ACL injuries in that part. So that's one thing that people aren't doing enough of, I think.
Yeah, but when you start changing your running motion or route running motions or all those other things, you do run a risk of, as you're shifting your weight on your hips and whatnot, you run the risk of overcompensating and causing injuries in other aspects of your body. So whether it be hips or ankles or whatever it may be, when you start changing core mechanics.
Yeah, well, I think it's more so of an issue where it's a chink in their running style that's a problem that the person is correcting. So I think that's what the issue is. Like whoever the trainer guy is that's good is working with these guys, he's seeing something in their running style that's causing them to be able to
tear it twice.
Yeah, exactly. So they say they are too hard, they lean too hard forward, or they lean too far on their heels. Something of that nature. Something mechanical that's wrong with their running style that they correct. That leads to the idea that they won't re-injure themselves.
No, I think that's fair.
And some of those things are just freak accidents too.
Yeah. I mean, some things your foot got caught in the surf.
ACL, you can tear your ACL and not even know until you go try to make the cut. I mean, it's like it could just happen.
I've seen people walk off the field on their own power with ACL tear. So just didn't know.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's totally fair, but I when you look at these NFL guys, like for example, Von Miller came off that extreme training course when he tore his ACL, and he was looking primed to having an absolute elite season. So I still think that there's a balance between flexibility and strength that the football players need to better balance when it comes to their ligaments and tendons and whatnot. And I think that so much of football is so predicated on strength And for especially D linemen and even wide receivers, too much is placed on strength and not enough is placed on flexibility, which helps with the ligaments and tendons and the soft tissue type stuff. Muscles require the reps to kind of build up the musculature and whatnot, but the tendons and ligaments need the stretching and the, more like yoga style workouts.
The TB12 method.
Well,
Seriously,
but it's more of a mix. So TB12 focuses almost exclusively on the flexibility and the other stuff, but you need the strength on the other side for someone like a Von Miller or your D lineman and other things. So I just think you need to better balance.
Are you about to throw up, Cap? Are you okay?
No, he's coughing.
No, I think he's he's going to throw up. Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, well, we did talk about a fake pirate, so it is what it is.
There you go.
But
that's what it was. That's what it was, man.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you need to look at that stuff because that's going to allow you to stay healthy and on the field. And I think that we see so much of these players that are pushed in a direction of strength to try and equate into speed.
Yeah, that's possible.
But anyways, guys, we've had a great show today. We are nearing the end.
I'm not putting it up. Given saw it. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not touching that either.
Yeah, I understand that the Raiders are not necessarily a fan of the Chiefs. I walked off the field after telling my ACL, you can walk, but your knee gives out on you, and an hour later the knee is exactly. That's exactly.
I tore my ACL, and I was at least, I guess, lucky enough to also dislocate my kneecap, so I wasn't moving when I did it.
Wow.
I wasn't going to try to get up and walk, but it was not a fun process.
I had to be carted off the field for a meniscus tear, so I get it.
Yeah.
So the weird thing with me is I've never had any. I've torn all of the ligaments in my right ankle and tendons in my right ankle as a result of bone breaks. But I've never had any actual soft tissue injuries that are specific to just the soft tissue.
It's built like a tank, huh, Rich?
I am a uniquely built individual where my soft tissue will not break, but my bones will snap if I have like 1,000 pounds weight put on my leg.
Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much anybody. So
exactly. So I mean, I will recall my leg when I broke my leg the first go round. I was playing rugby and I was ran down the field. I had 3 guys that were draped on the lower part of my leg. None of them knew how to tackle properly, so I dragged them down for about a quarter of the field. And one of them twisted my ankle as they slid down my leg. And then I had another 2 guys that finally caught up to me that tried to bat the ball. I was about to pass it to my teammate. And as my leg was twisted by the guy that was trying to bring me down to the ground, as I was falling and passing the ball to my teammate, the 2 guys jumped over to try to bat the ball down and both landed directly on my leg. And for those of you that have played either football or rugby, you're basically dealing with a 200 and some odd pound person. Add that onto the fall, and you're talking probably, 800 pounds, give or take.
Easy.
And so my leg was twisted, and I had about 800 pounds fall on my leg. I felt a pop. I continued to play the last part of the quarter. My leg felt a little messed up. And at the end of the quarter, I fell to the ground and was taken off by the ambulance at the side of the field, because at every rugby game in Canada, they have an ambulance driver because we're just that kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. And the guy said, "What's wrong?" I said, my leg feels funny. And he looked at it and said, "It's not swollen, so you're fine." He then twisted my leg, and I felt my whole inner part of my leg crunch and a pain that I've never felt before, which I hope to never feel again.
Yeah.
And that was all of the bones on the inner part of my leg separating apart from one another. I took a swing at the ambulance driver for being an idiot because my foot twisted sideways and then never moved it back.
Oh,
I guess that's just that Canadian medical education you got up there.
Yeah, and so that was how I found out that I broke my leg when I was playing rugby.
Dang.
Yeah,
And,
it's
that
really
was
a
awesome.
fresh wound.
That's all you guys got free healthcare, right?
We do, and let me tell you, I
Well,
utilized it
well,
in its full to its fullest extent.
yeah, I bet you do. Especially in that situation.
Yeah, so that's how I found out I broke my leg, and so it was called a compound spiral fracture, and I had multiple fractures off of it.
Beach.
And so that was a beautiful thing, but that's the way things work here. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here on the Wild Wild West podcast. On that note, we're just going to go ahead and end it because why not?
That's the way it crumbles.
I'm not ending it. I'm not ending it.
There you go. Hands up,
Yeah.
Cat.
Heads up. I'm not ending it. Okay.
So, guys, I'd like to thank you very much. We're going to have a lot more to talk about next week as we start getting into what we saw from the various players on our team, what we like, what we didn't like, and all that sort of stuff with regards to preseason. And we'll start getting into your questions. You can find us on Twitter. My handle's directly below. Most of our handles are actually directly below our names here. You can find us there. And more importantly, guys, hit that like button. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Comment after the videos if you have any questions you'd like us to answer after the fact. And more importantly, we would like to see you next week on Wednesday, where we delve into all of the details that we saw in the first set of preseason games. I'm making Captain end it. No, I'm not having him click the red button. So
Right.
you can stop that. Okay.
Right.
He should for a little full swing poetic justice, do it when it's right.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, until next Wednesday, this is the Wild Wild West podcast. Thank you very much for joining, and we will see you next Wednesday. Links to all of our channels below in the description. See you next week.